Hello, I'm Gwen Eiffel. Welcome to the Washington Week Webcast Extra. Joining me around the table are John Harwood of CNBC and the New York Times, Susan Davis of National Journal, Karen Tumulty of the Washington Post, and Christy Parsons of Tribune Newspapers. We're going to get right to our questions where we left off in the regular program. I want to pick up with you, Karen, because the debate was really just full of interesting little details and sidelights, and one of them was the audience reaction. This is now the third debate where we have seen the audience inappropriately, I'll just say it, inappropriately respond to questions, whether it was about health care or whether it was about, one was about health care, one was about capital punishment, and the one last night or on Thursday night was about a gay soldier who is now out because of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and he had this question for the candidates.
My question is, under one of your presidencies, do you intend to circumvent the progress that's been made for gay and lesbian soldiers in the military?
Yeah.
Now, that reaction preceded the then reaction of Rick Santorum, the former senator from Pennsylvania, who went on to say, let's put it this way, he did not start his remarks by saying, thank you for your service.
I know, and I was quite stunned that none of those candidates on stage took that moment to chastise that audience, of all things, a conservative Republican audience, for booing a soldier even as he is asking a question from Iraq where he is in harm's way. It was just an extraordinary moment.
I've heard a couple different versions of this. One is that in the room there weren't that many booers, but the other is that, and I think Gary Johnson, one of the candidates on stage, said he actually heard the booing, and he's sorry that he didn't say something in defense of the soldier. But I don't remember in all the debates we've covered seeing these kinds of reactions before.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's some kind of evidence of the kind of new media culture that we're in or what, but there have been, in some ways, this has almost been encouraged by the organizations that are sponsoring the debates. In fact, I remember I was in Tampa a couple of weeks ago, and the CNN had somebody who was actually getting on stage and, as they do before, comedy shows, encouraging people to clap and.
Really?
Yeah, and I'd never seen that before in a debate.
I can only hope we back away from that idea. Sue Davis, I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on Capitol Hill, because it seems that unspoken in all of these fights that are going on between the chambers, among the parties, with the president, is that everyone's keeping an eye on next year and on the election year and on the possibility of flipping that at least the Senate.
Absolutely.
Is that what's going on some level?
Absolutely. And obviously the Senate is, I'm not even sure having the Senate majority is a blessing or a curse. I think depending on how you look at it. But I do think they're closely divided. Democrats they control about 53 votes in the Senate right now, and they've got a ton of seats up for grabs. I think I'd have to double check my math, but I'm pretty sure there's about 32 seats up next year, and I think 22 of them are Democratic held and 10 are Republican held. So the math is just not in their favor, and the politics aren't in their favor. A lot of the states where they're competing for seats are in swing states where Barack Obama is also going to be competing, in Florida, in Ohio, in Missouri. And I think it's fair to say Democrats are in a pretty weak political position right now, in part because of Obama. They don't, I can say that Republicans on Capitol Hill, at least, feel very strongly that he's beatable. And I think if they believe that they can get a Republican in the White House and they can get Republicans in the Senate, similar to the alignment that Barack Obama had when he came in, and they got a lot done. Now Republicans didn't like it, but they did get the health care bill, they did get financial reform, and I think Republicans have a similarly ambitious agenda. So they're looking at this and they're saying, why compromise now if we have a shot at the brass ring in 2012?
Backdrop for all of this, John, is the economy. And one of the things we watched again was the roller coaster, the stock market roller coaster, 400 or 500 points down. But what fed it this time was action by the Fed, unusual action by the Federal Reserve, which seemed to catch Wall Street by surprise.
The Federal Reserve implemented this procedure that takes the nickname Operation Twist. It's after something that was tried in 1961, where essentially having cut interest rates, short-term interest rates, about as low as they could possibly go. And there's been quite a lot of stimulus in the economy, both through monetary policy and fiscal policy. They decided one thing that they hadn't exhausted yet was the ability to push down long-term interest rates and hoping that mortgage rates, for example, would go even lower than they have. They're pretty low right now. We'll see whether this is pushing on a string and just trying to provide stimulus that isn't going to be taken up by anybody, or whether it's going to be effective. Certainly, the Congress is not doing a whole lot right now, and the president's proposed a jobs package to try to get something going on the economy and hasn't gotten immediate action. Right. So the administration is hoping that the Federal Reserve can be more effective than they've been at getting the unemployment rate down and getting growth accelerated, because right now it's a very weak picture, and it's exacerbated not only by the picture domestically in the United States, but also by the crisis in Europe, the debt crisis there, and the resolution for that's not exactly in sight either.
I feel like everyone's in a circle pointing, no, you do it, no, you do it. And it's not, nobody's actually doing anything. Christy, I want to talk to you about something else that the president did at the UN this week, which kind of got overlooked in all of the tension about the Palestinian statehood question, which is to personally give a pretty strong speech in defense of what the U.S. and the UN did in Libya.
Yeah, it was almost overlooked, but that was the thing that the president actually was really trying to emphasize all week was the success of the cooperation of the international community in Libya. And he was also making a really, I mean, this was a vivid illustration of how Obama thinks things ought to work, right? There should be limited U.S. involvement, and the international community should cooperate and bear the costs and the responsibilities of actions like that. And so he was sort of pointing to it as a demonstration model. This is how we ought to do things in the future, and this is the role the U.S. is going to take. It was really a fulfillment of what he's said from the very beginning, and that this is a new day. We're not going to act unilaterally. We're going to, take everyone's concerns and have a discussion and then arrive at a collaboration together. And it now seems to apply just about everywhere, he says, except for, the topic we were really talking about all week, which was Middle East.
Middle East. It was nice when the president actually has something that worked. We got to give him a little credit when he can take his small victory lap up there at the UN. Thank you, everyone. You can find links to everything our panelists are reporting and to my own chat this week about the high school dropout rate in which I interviewed Denzel Washington at our website. That's pbs.org/Washington Week. And we'll see you next time on the Washington Week Webcast Extra.